Hey there, it's Derek here from Pacific Coast Auto in Japan, and we're looking at a 1994 Toyota Celica GT4. That's the turbocharged four-wheel drive version of the Celica. In this case, with a water-to-air intercooler. That's cool. This generation just came with that. Actually, I think the 185 generation came with that as well. And this is homologation special for Toyota to go rallying. There is a version called the WRC version that is even more the actual homologation. This one here, basically the consumer version of a rally car with plenty of cool little things like a timing belt cooler. That's right. This little hood scoop here goes directly into the timing belt system to keep it cool. Very cool little feature, and it's things like that that you needed if you wanted to homologate a car. Basically, they wanted to go rallying, but you have to sell a certain amount of cars in order to make the car legal for the division that it was racing in. Here you can see 123,000 kilometers, so this is a pretty low mileage one. Of course, it is a fairly old car, coming from 1994, makes it a 30-year-old car. And there are some things that need to be fixed or adjusted or maintained on it, but for the most part, it looks like a good solid car. As far as big problems, there's a little bit of body damage on the left rear, and it looks like a ball joint is bad on your front left, so check the suspension when the vehicle arrives. Engine-wise, everything looks like it is okay. We got fair coolant. Oil is the proper level, but it's a little bit dirty, so you're going to want to check that. And yeah, most cars come with an air-to-air intercooler, meaning the air cools the air, but in this case, the coolant, a separate coolant. I think it's a separate coolant? I could be wrong about that. But I believe it's a separate coolant from the radiator, and it just is used because water will take the heat out of the air faster or more efficiently than air will. The downside is it's more complicated, hence why most cars don't have them. But if you're actually going to go racing, something like this can be more efficient for you. And then, of course, cost as well. Most cars like this don't want to spend too much money on things like that unless you're actually going to need it, which in this case you do. Same engine here is in the MR2 Turbo, and actually the Caldina. Let me give you a quick little peek. Oddly, this little station wagon has a GT4 version, and it's four-wheel drive and turbo, using, I believe, what the platform for the Celica was when they were going to make another generation, but then they decided to drop the GT4 completely, so this is the final year of them. And this one's going to the USA, where we never got this GT4. The USA got very, very few of the ST165, that's the 1986 to 1989 body, and then kind of a small-ish, but more so amount of the 185, which is the next generation, the final one with the pop-up headlights. And then this one here, you guys got in the States, but not with the GT4. No four-wheel drive turbo. And it sort of is fall here, hence the leaves falling on the car. Let's go over the auction inspection sheet now, and I'll go ahead and translate this for you. There's not a ton to translate, but bear with me as we go through it. So 1994 Celica GT4, auction grade 3.5. Interior, exterior C, which seems about fair. It's not a bad C, it's a good C. Okay, a 242,000 kilometers. It is authentic mileage. The timing belt has been changed. It wasn't mentioned on here, but there was a sticker saying it was done at 102,000 kilometers. And I got a picture of it, but I can't recall the date that it was done at. But 102,000 kilometers, so that's good. 5-speed manual, of course. They never came with a 6-speed. 4-wheel drive and electric folding mirrors are the only two sales points. Kind of funny, a car like this with cool rear spoiler and rare roof spoiler from factory, and they don't have anything better to say than this car's got folding mirrors. Max, what are you doing over there? You want to pick up a car?
Should I take another one?
Yeah, take that white Legacy. Okay, back to translating. So the report here says windshield rock chip in it, interior dirty and wear, very small scratches, underside surface rust, not corrosion, surface rust really shouldn't be too bad. Winter tires, and alloy wheels. Suspension has been modified with a question mark, aftermarket air filter, and exhaust. And then if you look here, we get U2, which is a medium dent on both back corners here. This one here is a little bit worse. It says U2 on the side sill here. Let's have a quick look at that. I actually might have missed that. Okay, there it is. Somebody jack-standed it on the pinch weld. Not something that really damages the car, but it is there, so they marked it down. And then A2 on the front bumper. Okay, so let's take you for a tour around it. The GT4 has long been one of my favorites. I think a lot of people who grew up with the cool Toyotas really like this. Toyota had a great amount of sports cars at the time, probably 5 or 6 different sports cars. Oh, you don't need me. You're just walking toward me because there's a legacy here for you. So like they had the Levin, the MR2, the Celica, the Supra. Gosh, they must have had other ones as well. There were a number of different variations of them, like the Levin versus the Trudeau, and the Celica versus the... Geez, what was the name of the sedan version of the Celica that was only available in Japan? Exiv, maybe? My brain is all broken. Thought about cars for too many years of my life. Okay, and for the most part, I'd say that the body is pretty good. The car is really dusty right now. This one was actually in our lot over the break, and we were gone for 2 weeks, and all those trees were knocking their pollen down on all of our cars. And so yeah, the car will look better once washed, but as you can see, there's lots of pollen all over it. Okay, so let's look at details, including cool things and bad things about the car. First off, I've seen this on a few Celicas, but the rubber that goes around the headlight is actually shrunk a little bit. You might be able to heat gun that back into place. You can kind of push it back, but it'll work its way back towards the center over time. I love the dual headlights with the fog lights. So it's sort of like a 6 headlight look. Always really like that. And then Hyundai came out with the Tiburon, which kind of had a similar type face as this. And I was like, you cheaters, you can't just take someone else's design. Which is kind of funny to think because that's exactly what Toyota was doing at the time. The front grille here is an extra grille that you only got on the GT4 version. And then if you look in here, you get a little oil cooler as well. And then some of the bracketing in there is a little bit corroded. That's a functional hood scoop here to let some of the air out. That's your scoop for your alternator. Or no, not the alternator cooler. The WRC version has an alternator cooler. This one has a timing belt cooler. And then a couple other vents here to allow the pressure out from the hood. This allows the cooling to work better and to provide less lift to the front side. So these door visors are on pretty much all the Japanese cars. They're for you to smoke while inside the car because smoking was very popular here in Japan for a while. Yes. Roof scoop, very cool. Not roof scoop, roof spoiler. And then this back spoiler is one of my favorites. I think that this was an ingenious idea. You take the original spoiler that comes on the back and then just add these blocks underneath it to make the original spoiler bigger and a stronger angle of attack. It works, it's ingenious, and it looks really good on this car. Okay, the aftermarket wheels are not bad for a no-name wheel. And then there's winter tires on there. Brake calipers, this doesn't seem to be on all of the GT4s, but this one's got a 4-piston monoblock caliper. And the monoblock caliper is a one-piece, hence the name monoblock. And then because it's a one-piece, it doesn't flex in the same way that a sliding caliper does. I would show you the sliding caliper on this one, but that one actually has monoblocks as well. A sliding caliper, it has 2 arms that are separate from one another, which slide together. These give you a better pedal feel that is more consistent, and for those who love braking, like I do, it gives you great feeling. Okay, as far as the damages go, for the most part, side panel is good. It looks like it's been repainted. And then there's a little nick here. And then the area here, that's the AU2 that I was mentioning. So it looks like it got hit here and here. Maybe at 2 separate times, maybe at the same time. They've touched it up with touch-up paint. It is noticeable, especially once the car's clean. It's going to be a little bit more noticeable. So there is that. On the other side over here, there's a U2. Somebody put a turbo badge on. That's not factory. It is a turbo car. Right here. And as you can see, this side is much smaller than the other side. A big exhaust. It doesn't say on it what brand it is, so I'm not too sure. It has a nice deep sound to it. Okay. Come along here, you've got this window molding piece where it's split a little bit there and then separated a little bit there. And same thing here, they've colored it with a marker and a little bit of peeling paint in this area. The roof also has a bit of paint fade in this area here. Not mentioned on the auction sheet. I guess they didn't see it. And this mirror is a little bit shaky, and there's a bit of a gummy material holding the lens in, so maybe they had issues with that. So probably replace this mirror. It still does fold in properly, but I don't know, shaky mirror is a no-no to me. I want to be able to see everything behind me without it shaking around. A little bit of a dent there. They're not rolled fenders, but Toyota actually gave you a lot of room inside here for this car. I think it's because it's a competition car. They wanted to be able to fit as big of tires as they can, so it's almost like it's rolled from factory. The rear, not so much. The rear has, as you can see in here, your regular, almost an inch, or 2.2 centimeters. And then we got a scuff here. And it looks like this part here you can actually polish off. It feels like it's a transfer of some sort of rubber from something else. And then it said that there was A2 on the front bumper. Maybe they're talking about that, but really the front bumper starts from here. So I'm not really seeing anything in the front bumper. Just these nice glorious big vents to add to the cooling on the car. Very cool. Okay, so a 2-door sports car, 4-seater. You don't see a lot of 2-doors anymore. It's a shame. A 2-door, maybe we'll make a comeback sometime. Let's go to the interior now, and we'll start off with the trunk, actually. It's funny, you get a bigger trunk in this than you do in a Supra. And you don't have anything to grab onto here to open the trunk, so it's a little bit painful in the fingers. You can do it by the spoiler, but as a general rule, I don't like doing that. Okay, hood dampers hold the trunk up, but they're saggy. Okay, they don't hold the trunk up. They did earlier. Is that? Okay, that's good. Okay, so you have like a spare tire cutout in the carpeting, which is a little bit awkward, but it is what it is. You get a factory rear strut tower brace that has been wrapped in this vinyl. Kind of cool. You can fold those seats down to give yourself more cargo room, but you do have that brace there. The brace really does make a difference. It makes the chassis flex less, which is very important, but it does take up cargo room. Still has the tonneau board here, which attaches up here. You can have it not attach or attach depending on what you want. Just unhook it from there. And then down in here, there's no signs of any rust or sitting water or anything scary in there. Also, no smell of mold or anything like that. Okay, to the interior. First off, the door cards. Now the liners here, like there's a little bit of deformation in here, and then this section here, the liner has come up. You can probably peel that back a little bit. I know you can up here. So it needs to be glued back into place. I have seen some people glue it kind of poorly. I think spray glue would probably be the best, like 3M spray glue. And then the door card otherwise is fine. All of this works properly. The seats. Thank you, Toyota. This, I love you for this. Toyota has this one here, which you can set the different levels of increments, right? And it's got this one here to set the exact level that you want. That's what you need in a sports car, because you go to the back, you put some stuff in there, you put a kid in or someone else, right? You push this back, and that's in exactly the position that you drive in without having to readjust it a set number of clicks like in many cars. The Skyline GTRs do the same thing as this. Not very many cars think to do that, and I love it. Okay, the steering wheel has a little bit of extra damage because the leather has shrank and has pulled the seams apart. You might have some luck in like heating that up and restitching it, but probably just replace the steering wheel. It is, you know, a worn out steering wheel to me is probably okay most of the time, but because you can feel this a lot and your finger kind of gets caught in it and it's close to where you're going to drive. You know, if you drive a 10 and 2, you'll have your hand right on it. If you drive a 3 and 9, you won't, but still when you're moving your hand, yeah, I just don't like that feeling. It looks like a full auto turbo timer right there, and then your regular 3 gauges. Toyota got the seat right, but they didn't get the tack right. Put the tack in the middle, you idiots. No, you're not idiots. I love you, but still. It's not hard to do that. A little bit of extra wear on the carpet there. Not bad for a car of this age. 30 years old. Like, my cars were 30 and 40 years old when I got my first cars, and they were ancient. So I guess that's where we are now. It's one of those things where it's like, do you realize how old you've gotten? I remember when these were hot new cars. Okay. Lots of wear on the shifter. I think these shifters are prone to doing that. I've seen it on a few of them. And then a bit of tape there, so there's maybe some damage underneath. The AC works well. It has some sort of like a kind of dated double DIN Navi system. With some peeling in the screen. Okay, Toyota has the same clocks for like 40 years. It's so funny. I think I heard that they bought so many of the clocks that they wanted a good deal on them, so they bought way too many. Like we're talking 50 million of them or something. They had to sell tons and tons of cars before they could get rid of them all, even after the technology advanced. That clock there is the same clock that's in our BB, even though they're not really that far different in age. Oh, I gotta say something about this car. It shocks you. Like, static electricity builds up in it for some reason, whether the car's on or off, it seems. So maybe look into like one of those grounding strips for the ground. Some cars just kind of do that, and I don't really know what's going on with them. Anyways, that's going to be the end of the report here. If you have any questions about it, please let me know. I'd be happy to answer them for you. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks so much for watching, and have a nice day.